Welcome to the Steelers by the Lake podcast. My name is James Strong, joined once again by my co-host, Cody Tanner. Cody, how are you on this Friday evening?
James, I am doing fantastic on this Friday. Long day at work, roughly a 10-hour day in, but doing good on my Lanta. It was a doozy out there today. Went north, a lot of snow, went south, a little less snow, but still just grinding along. So, James, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Glad the weekend is here. Get to rest up a little bit. It's been a brutal one for me as well.
Yeah, we work in the same business, just not the same company. So it's a fun time for sure. Working for, I would call them rival companies, but they're competitors,
competing.
To say the least. Yeah. We're here to preview the Browns game. So this is the second time Pittsburgh will be going up against the Cleveland Browns in just 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Played them 2 weeks ago. Then we played the Bengals and played them again. Last time we went to Cleveland and got our butts whooped. Specifically kind of by Myles Garrett. It felt like it. The Myles Garrett thing felt like it.
Wasn't it like a 1 or 2 point loss?
It was, but it just felt, I don't know. We'll get to that later. But before we go too far, James, let's talk some Steelers news before we preview this game too much.
All right, sounds good. So first on the list, we've got some roster transactions, starting off with running back Jonathan Ward getting released. Don't worry, we're going to talk about him again real soon. The reason he was released was to make room for Corey Trice, who has officially returned from the injured reserve, which is really exciting. He was starting to really show some promise before getting injured and missing most of the season at this point. But he's back for the remaining 5 games. Hopefully he'll get a chance to get on the field a little bit and kind of get warmed up and into things here. You'd like to see him in full swing by the time we start playing the Eagles and the Chiefs and even the Ravens again. Even the Bengals second matchup, you'd like to have Corey Trice out there. Maybe he can do a little bit better in the secondary for us, you know.
And then realistically process the guys that he could replace. I mean, if Joey Porter keeps getting these calls, I don't want to see Joey Porter get taken off the field or anything, but if you throw Corey Trice out there, pull Joey Porter just so you can get a play where like our defense isn't under a microscope, because I feel like Joey Porter is going to be looked at more for those penalties because of the amount that he's accumulated thus far. I feel like the refs kind of are watching for it more now. I would be okay with him coming in and taking over for Cam Sutton on some downs, Beanie Bishop. I mean, I don't know. Dante Jackson's the only one really picking the ball off, and most of it's luck. Most of it's, he's at the right spot. Yeah. Well, his hands work. He catches the ball.
He hasn't jumped the route to get a pick yet.
No, not at all. But I mean, he's the only one registering them at this point.
Beanie's got 3 also, so he's
and he barely plays now that Cam Sutton's back.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'd be interested to see what they do with Corey Trice if they just put him in a rotation, if he's in for specific packages, or if a specific wide receiver comes into the game, if he goes and guards that receiver. He's tall, if I don't remember correctly, right? He's like 6'2" and 210 pounds. He's a big. So put him in the slot or let him go up against the tight end or something. Like, I'm okay with that. Bring him in as a 4th DB or 4th corner in some packages, maybe. I don't know. Curious to see how they utilize him to the best advantage, but excited to see him back for sure. James, in other news, Steelers did release defensive tackle Dominique Davis from the practice squad, and then they did sign Jonathan Ward right back to the practice squad. So exciting news for Jonathan Ward. James talked about that before the show, and actually today at work, we were on the phone with each other, and he's like, I expect him to be back on the practice squad. Yeah, thankfully. He did show some promise. So yeah, that transaction happened today. And then, James, we're going to talk briefly about a rival team because it has to do with kind of the Dante Jackson trade that happened over the offseason. And let's break that down a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So in that trade, obviously the big thing for Pittsburgh was losing Deontay Johnson, but gaining Dante Jackson. Dante Jackson, as Cody just previously mentioned, has now acquired 5 interceptions on the season, which is the most, I believe, since Joe Joe Hayden. I think Joe Hayden had 5 for us one of the seasons he was here. Other than maybe Minka, I think Minka had a 7-pick season, but as far as corners, it's going to be, so, he's getting the interceptions. That's great, but Deontay Johnson's just been kind of a major issue everywhere he's gone since leaving Pittsburgh. So, kind of got out of Carolina pretty quickly, and a trade to the Baltimore Ravens from Carolina where it was almost a giveaway. They really didn't give up any capital for him, but now they're stuck with the contract. And that's the big thing here is that they've got to pay him, and he just got suspended for conduct detrimental to the team, which basically means he's being a pain in the butt.
He refused to go in last week during the game, and that was his reason for being suspended. And you gotta wonder what the heck, like, why would you refuse to go into a game? What's going on in his head? Is he dealing with an injury that no one's taking seriously and he's frustrated? Is he just in his own head? And we've seen the drops. We've seen the issues he had from when he was in Pittsburgh to then Carolina and now in Baltimore. What the heck is going on? I mean, he was a stud when he first started playing for us. I don't know what the heck happened or where the downfall began. But dude's got to get out of his way and figure out, can you continue to play football at a high level or not?
Yeah.
This is career ending potentially.
And this could be as simple as just one of the major issues that we saw with him on tape while he was a Pittsburgh Steeler was a complete lack of effort blocking. And the Ravens are a big running team. So it could be as simple as he was told to go out on the field to be wide receiver on a run play, full well knowing all he was going to do was blocking. And he said, no, I'm not going out there just to block.
Yep.
And that could be 100% what this is. It wouldn't surprise me because he has kind of the diva thing going on where he thinks he's too good for stuff. We saw that a few times where he just wouldn't block and then somebody gets blown up because of it. I'd rather have what we've got now, which is a rookie wide receiver in Roman Wilson, whose motto is no block, no rock. Coming out of the University of Michigan. I like that mentality much better than a guy that thinks if the ball's not being thrown to him, he doesn't even need to be on the field. He's too good to be on the field to have to throw a block.
Yeah. Yeah, so very interesting. I mean, I think at this point, you can clearly say Pittsburgh won that trade. If nothing else happened beyond this point, Pittsburgh won that trade by a landslide. Another trade we can talk about that a good buddy of the podcast, Nick Pretzel, talked about was the trade away, of Kenny Pickett to the Eagles. We wound up using that pick for Peyton Wilson in the draft, and Peyton Wilson is proven he's a stud. He has touched the ball more. Well, maybe not more. I think Kenny Pickett came in and did some kneel downs. But he has an interception on the season. He's made some plays. Peyton Wilson, we definitely won that trade as well. I'm very curious to go back in time and see the number of trades like this that Pittsburgh had where, dumping a player for a draft pick and then using that draft pick. I feel like Pittsburgh hits on all of those, man. Every single one of them.
Well, there's a few the last couple of years that maybe we didn't fully take advantage of, like Kendrick Green for a late round pick. Kevin Dotson for a late round pick that kind of blew up in our face too, where he ended up being an all pro for the Rams like the very next season. But yeah, these look very favorable. And I think the stat that Nick had thrown out there was that Peyton Wilson has more touchdowns this year than Kenny Pickett does.
That is true. That was it.
Which is very, very funny and also true at the same time. So very, very neat to see. It's an exciting future for Peyton Wilson. Kind of an exciting situation for Pittsburgh all around, honestly. You got to feel optimistic with going 5-1 in the last 6 games here, trending in the right direction, and just having come off of a 414-yard passing performance. One of my preseason predictions starting to look a little bit better now, Cody. They're up to 15 passing touchdowns now. I said 25, so it's getting closer. 5 games left. All I need is 2 a game, and we're there, buddy.
There is a chance. That's very exciting. With that being said, James, it's time to give a shout out to one of our sponsors.
Support for Steelers by the Lake include the Edinburgh Hotel Bar located at 100 Meadville Street in downtown Edinburgh, offering daily lunch and dinner specials from 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. For more information, call 814-734-5103 or visit edinburghhotelbar.com.
Yeah, that's them. Love them. I was there for last week for the football game. I'll probably be there this week for the football game. Thank you, Edinburgh Hotel, for sponsoring us. James, it's time. Let's break down the injuries. Let's talk injury report for these teams. I'll go over the Pittsburgh Steelers if you would like to go over the Cleveland Browns. Taking a look here, Mike Williams, Najee Harris, Minka Fitzpatrick, Isaac Seumalo, Michael Pruitt, TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Larry Ogunjobi, all guys that were not injury related but listed on the injury report as resting veterans. So all those guys, I love that Najee's considered a veteran already. Still on his rookie deal, but he's the veteran.
He's like 27 or something, isn't he?
I think he's only 26 right now.
Is he? Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 26. But yeah, so all those guys were limited in practice or did not participate Wednesday. So a few of them didn't participate Thursday, and then the rest of they've all participated today for practice. Calvin Austin dealing with that concussion protocol. He was limited in practice on Wednesday, fully participated Thursday and Friday. Do expect him to be a go. And then you also have Corey Trice with the hamstring. He's obviously activated again, fully participated all week long. Alex Highsmith with that low ankle sprain, limited on Wednesday, but then full the rest of the week. No determining game status yet. Hopefully he's a go. Would love to see him be able to play again. Montravis Adams is listed as out with that knee injury. Something might have happened today or just, not.
No, they just didn't activate him yet. That's all.
That's fair. Okay. Because he was limited on Wednesday, fully participated. He's ready.
He's still technically on the injured reserve, but in that 21-day window.
That's fine. And then George Pickens listed on the injury list with a hamstring injury. That injury must have happened today because it wasn't listed on Wednesday or Thursday, but limited participation Friday. Questionable for the game. That is a big one that will play a factor on Sunday's game. James, you want to go over the Cleveland Browns injury?
Yes. So for the rival Cleveland Browns, let's just go over the game statuses first. Actually, no, we'll go over the injuries from Friday. So Joel Bitonio has an ankle, but he went full. Cornerback Miles Harden with a tibia injury was limited. Defensive tackle Maurice Hurst didn't even participate with an ankle injury. Defensive end Sam Kamara with a concussion did not participate. Jerry Jeudy with a knee was full. Elijah Moore with a shoulder was full. Greg Newsome, the corner with an abdomen injury, was limited. Wide receiver Cedric Tillman, also with a concussion, was a do not participate. Safety Juan Thornhill with a calf injury was limited. Wide receiver Jamari Thrash with a shoulder limited. And then offensive tackle Jedrick Wells with the knee did not participate. Now, as far as their game status is, Miles Harden, the corner, is questionable. Defensive tackle Maurice Hurst is out. Defensive end Sam Kamara out. Wide receiver Cedric Tillman out. Jedrick Wells, the left tackle, the original starting left tackle, out. And then Juan Thornhill, the safety, is questionable. Jamari Thrash, the wide receiver, also questionable. So real beat up in both the secondary and the wide receiver core here for the Cleveland Browns. So,
yep. Yeah, very interesting to see how that's going to play out. James, big thing there, obviously for us, in my opinion, is the Alex Highsmith with no game time status yet, and then the George Pickens being questionable. Those are the two big ones for me. But now it's time to break down the offense, defense, and special teams of the Cleveland Browns, kind of give it a look at their roster. Jameis Winston is the starting quarterback. He's been having a weird year. He is a character, man. He is something else when he does his interviews. That is for sure. Yeah. Wide receiver room is Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore, Cedric Tillman. We obviously talked about on the injury list, and Jamari Thrash. Those are only the four receivers they have listed, James. They have four guys listed on their depth chart, and pretty sure two of them are injured.
Yeah, half of them's injured.
They got more guys that'll be playing and on the depth chart, might be activated or promoted from the practice squad, but those will be playing. Nick Chubb, the wide receiver, backed up by Jerome Ford. Chubb again looking for his breakout game against the Steelers last week. 2 weeks ago. I don't think he had a massive game if I remember correctly. Pittsburgh did a good job of holding him from big runs, but he did score, I think, 1 or 2 touchdowns that were 1 or 3 yards less. I can't remember exactly. Tight end David Njoku and Jordan Atkins being the top 2 guys. Expect to see Njoku targeted heavily in this game because I think the injuries at wide receiver might prove detrimental to the way they want to move the ball down the field. Offensive line, DeJuan Jones, starting left tackle, Joel Bitonio, the left guard, Ethan Pochik, the center, Wyatt Teller, the right guard, and Jack Conklin, the starting right tackle. All those guys listed there in their starters. James, who do you think is the biggest concern for you? I obviously talked about David Njoku and Nick Chubb, but who are you looking at for?
They've got a pretty large list of injuries going on here, and also they still did not update this. They had this listed this way last time. And Jermaine Ifedi started at left tackle, so to expect him to start again, unless DeJuan Jones is healthy enough to go at left tackle. But he wasn't even dressed, I don't think, last game. So I would expect Ifedi to start on the left side again. So the big matchups for me is this time we've got a healthy outside linebacker core. So now if they double team TJ every single time, which is kind of what they did last time, I would just continue rotating through the other guys so that it's a constant, fresh pass rusher on the opposite side. You ought to be able to beat that side darn near every single play. So that's kind of a big key for me on this week's game. On the defensive side of things, it's going to sound very similar to what it was a couple weeks ago. Defensive ends, Myles Garrett and Agbo Okoronkwo. The defensive tackles, Dalvin Tomlinson and Shelby Harris, with Sam Kamara and Maurice Hurst backing them up. Both of those gentlemen are injured, though. I think Kamara was out and Hurst is questionable. Linebacker room, we've got Mohamed Diabate and Jordan Hicks. Devin Bush also gets a lot of playing time with the starting base unit. Behind them, Nathaniel Watson, Kaliki Hudson, and Winston Reed. The secondary is where they hang their hat, with Martin Emerson Jr., Denzel Ward, and Greg Newsome. Greg Newsome being the guy that pass interfered with George Pickens all day long, did not get called once, including holding him and pushing him out of the back of the end zone on the Hail Mary play at the very end of the game. Safeties, Grant Delpit and Juan Thornhill are not impressing anyone this year. It's all about their corners. So that's where you got to worry. This game is you got to know what's going on with the corners, and you got to know where the heck Myles Garrett is, and make sure that you land your chips in double teams, because they didn't land any of them in the first half last game. They did in the second half of the game. They controlled them completely in the second half of the game. The first half, he was dominant, and you can't allow that to happen again this week.
Yeah, and that was something we talked about even, in that recap show. I felt like they weren't getting their entire bodies in front of him. They were trying to push him and shove him, and all that was doing was making it harder on the offensive lineman to block him, because he was getting boosted or his position adjusted by those chippers, and unfortunately made it harder for the offensive lineman and actually led to 1, if not 2 sacks. So definitely keep an eye on him. And Greg Newsome hopefully gets called for some of these pass interferences, because he's going to do it again. He got away with it so much last week. He's going to do it again. Special teams wise, punter Corey Bjorquez. There we go. Dustin Hopkins, the kicker. Corey Bjorquez is also the placeholder. That's typical. They have kick returner Pierre Strong and Jerome Ford. I expect Pierre Strong to also be the punt returner. And Rex Sunahara, the long snapper, the former Pittsburgh Steelers practice squadian individual, is playing over there. James, real quick before we give our 3 keys to success and go over our score prediction, I want to give a shout out to a guy from O'Reilly Auto Parts that I saw while I was working. His name was Jeremy Garzanich. Jeremy is going to his first Steelers game this week against the Cleveland Browns. So being in Ohio and a Steelers fan, it's got to be rough for him. So hopefully they get a dub and he gets to enjoy his time there. Big shout out to him. And he said he'd definitely check out the podcast. So very exciting for that and his first game. Make sure you bring your table towel. Get ready for Renegade. It is a wild time. But James, it's 3 keys to success time, and it's my turn to go first.
Yes, it is.
And these are today I'm going 3 in order of importance.
Oh.
Number 1, double team and chip Myles Garrett every single play. I view him very much like the TJ Watt and the George Pickens of our offense. TJ Watt of our defense, George Pickens. When he is making plays and you see highlights of him on the screen, that energizes the rest of your team. That happens with TJ Watt in the Steelers defense. It happens with George Pickens in the Steelers offense. Sometimes Najee as well when he's running heavy. Don't let Myles Garrett motivate the guys around him. When he has a quiet game, he gets in his own head. He kind of, doesn't care as much, and then he probably doesn't be a leader for the rest of his team. I want to see us double team and chip Myles Garrett every single play, unless you're going to attack him and then let him come free and screen play over him, whatever you want to do. Number 2, James, and this one is important because of the questionable injury to George Pickens, utilize the tight ends. I want to see 10 completions to tight ends, not just pass attempts. I want to see 10 completions to tight ends. I don't care if it's Connor Hayward, Michael Pruitt, Darnell Washington, or Pat Freiermuth. I want to see those guys get their hands on the ball 10 individual times. And last but not least, don't be afraid to be a pass-heavy offense. I'm looking for another 300-yard passing game from Russell Wilson. I thought that when we played the Browns the first time and lost, I thought Pittsburgh did a bad job of recognizing that the run wasn't working and the pass would have because of the slippery conditions of the field with the snow and everything. I thought we missed an opportunity there that Cleveland took advantage of. And this time, don't even wait to see it. Just throw the ball. We saw what can happen last week against a pretty, not a bad defense. And I realize Cleveland's better. But I want to see us pass the ball for another 350 yards.
So is it 300 or 350?
Did I say 300? I did say 300. I meant 300.
You said 300.
I want to see 350, but the goal is 300.
All right. Sounds good.
I want to see 500, but the goal is 300.
I like it. Last time we had the Steelers-Browns matchup, I had to stress that double team as one of my keys. So I completely understand and get that. My first key to success versus the Cleveland Browns is pound at the Pat. I want 6+ catches by tight end Pat Freiermuth. So very much so in line with one of your keys there. Second key, pick off Jameis at least twice. I want to see 2 interceptions. He threw 2 pick sixes last week, so it's not asking that much. He's had multiple games this year where he's thrown multiple interceptions. So definitely something that's very doable. He's always been a risk taker when it comes to throwing. Number 3. I'm calling my shot. Alex Highsmith strip sack.
Ooh, okay.
On his first game back, we're getting a strip sack out of Alex Highsmith, and that'll be a very game-changing play when he does it. So those are my 3 keys to success.
I like it. I like it a lot. And just to reiterate real quick, in the loss we had last time against them, Russell threw for 270 yards. So 300 is not far off.
No, not at all.
And then Jameis Winston had 1 interception the last time they played.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we can do that again. James, score predictions time.
Mm-hmm. You're first.
I think did I go first last week or did you?
I thought I went first last week. Yeah, I went first last week.
Okay. James, last time we played Cleveland, we lost 24-19. This time, I am expecting a 53 to 17 victory for the Steelers.
53-17 Pittsburgh win. Wow. You're going big, Codes.
I'm going big. I think this offense wants to put it to him after last time. And I think Mike Tomlin might let him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he should if the opportunity comes to really if the opportunity comes to really rub it in, then they should do that this week. Because you're not going to have to see the Browns again in the postseason or anything. They're done. Nope. Their season's over already. So I'm with you on the Steelers getting revenge versus the Browns. I don't have it as quite as a margin as you do. I'm going to go 27-14 this time around. Okay. So limiting that offense a little bit more, getting a few more points on our side as well.
Cool. With that being said, that wraps up this preview show. If you guys want to share your 3 keys to success or your score predictions, feel free to message us directly on any social media platform. We'll be happily answering any messages and stuff like that, or comment on the YouTube channel if you're here watching with us. Be sure to like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube subscribe, ring the bell. It's free. It doesn't cost you a thing. Don't forget the 5-star reviews in our podcast. Make James very happy. And until next time, this is your host, James and Cody, signing off.
Peace.